Hello, and welcome to the Rich Woman Rising podcast. I'm your host, Eloise Tomkins, and I'm a money coach and psychologist helping you to step into your next income level by rewiring your relationship with money so that you can build a regulated business that doesn't just make more money, but actually lets you feel good holding it. But before we go any further, I want to share with you the 3-day somatic money reset that I'm hosting starting on the 2nd of June, where I'm going to not just give you more information, but I'm actually going to help you tap into the part of yourself that wants more money, the part of you that's scared, and work with your nervous system to help begin to bridge that gap. And this is something that I do with all of my one-on-one clients. And for the first time, I'm sharing it for free with you. So if you have been curious about my work and wanting to unpack that a little bit more, unpack your relationship with money in a nervous system first approach, come and join. It is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to put the link in the bio, not in the bio, in the show notes for you. Even if you can't attend live, register, you'll get access to the replay. But today, I want to talk to you about hustle and hard work, because I love recording this podcast. I really do. I really enjoy it. But for the past couple of weeks, it has felt like such an effort. And I've been reflecting on why, or trying to reflect on why. And what I have kind of concluded is that sometimes it can be really hard because I feel like I have to always show up with big energy. I have to show up with high vibes and, this really energetic persona, and which I've come to realize is not entirely me. And so I have been grappling with that because there has been moments where I'm like, oh, I want to record the podcast, but I feel like I don't have the energy to go in the 110%. Like maybe I'll go in with 70 or 80%. I'm like, well, that's not good enough. And so I've kind of been reflecting on that, because that perfectionism of wanting to do it right or to do it perfectly or to just be on at your top level had kind of been running subconsciously in the back of my mind. I wasn't quite aware of it. I just knew that every time I would think about sitting down to record a podcast, there would be something inside of me like, oh, this feels really hard. And so I get curious about that. And I'm like, what's going on? Hence the realization that I came to. So I want to talk to you about that, because I think so often we have this expectation of how we think we should show up in our business. Because if we show up in this particular way, that's going to be how it makes us money. And interestingly, as I have been reflecting, I'm like, oh, I had this thought process that if I showed up loud, big energy, high vibes, that's going to be my path to 7 figures. And then I checked in with my nervous system. And my nervous system was like, Ellie, honey, I just don't think that's you. And that's not to say that I don't have good energy or positive energy or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I like my energy, but I'm also not that person that just waltzes into a room and is like, yeah, let's get this party started. I'm in the corner with my drink, just absorbing and taking it all in, noticing, reflecting, curious, probably near the food table if there's some delicious food. And I'll talk to people, but I'm more of this quiet, observer. And that is my strength. I really like to do that. And then I kind of found myself sitting in this space of, well, if that's me, then, well, I'm not going to create the business that I want, because you have to be that loud person to build a crazy successful business. And I wonder if you can relate, where you have this kind of expectation or this assumption that your business will only work in a particular way. Now, I caught myself with all of this. Don't get me wrong, I snowballed into it for a few days while I was avoiding the podcast recording because I'm like, I was trying to figure out like what's going on. And this is why I do the nervous system work, because nervous system work isn't just about expanding your capacity so that you can hustle harder and hustle more and work harder and push yourself further and further and further. Like, no, that is not what nervous system work is about. That is not what I do with my clients to help them build a business that's sustainable, that helps them make more money, that aligns with their values and their goals. Like, no. Yet I still found myself getting caught up in it. What I realized is that our nervous system is, one, able to be expanded, and we can increase our threshold for money and stress and even things like overwhelm or anxiety, which also increases our capacity for things like clarity and joy and all those positive emotions that come with it. We can expand our nervous system's capacity. But just like any, or pretty much most things, there are edges in some way, shape, or form. And I mean, imagine blowing up a balloon. You have a balloon and you blow one puff of air in there, and it's still a tiny little balloon, right? It's barely inflated. But if you keep blowing up the balloon, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Those are the edges. Now, you could have that one puff of air in the balloon and it's barely expanded, but there's room for more. So you keep blowing and blowing or expanding, kind of like your nervous system. We want to expand it so that it can hold more money. But at the same time, there are edges around it too, which means that at some point you are going to blow one puff of air too much and the balloon will pop, because that's its limit. And that's not to say that there's something wrong with the balloon. It just was not designed to take up that shape that we were trying to force it into. We were trying to make it shape that it just didn't. It said, no, this does not fit. And how I see this playing out is we spend so much time trying to make money in our business by the rules that other people have said that we should. So for me, it was, oh my goodness, I have to be loud. I have to go big, go hard, in order to build my business the way that I want. Cue exhaustion. Cue not wanting to record the podcast because it wasn't even about the podcast. It was just this overarching sense, because I was placing all of this pressure on myself, on my nervous system, that didn't actually align with my own edges. It wasn't about the podcast. It was about just the edges in general. And this thought of all of these things that I potentially had to do that didn't actually fit in line with what I wanted. And so when we break that down and we think about, okay, so we can expand our nervous system and how much wealth it can hold, we also have to get to know our nervous system so that we can work out what are our own edges. Now, I'm not talking about edges in terms of your wealth limit, because your wealth limit is infinite. That has nothing to do, that's separate. And the reason that that's separate is because we can continue to build that threshold as long as we're working within the edges of your nervous system. So for example, for me, there are things that I want to do, right? I love speaking on stage, quite happy to throw me up on stage, love to speak, have no problem doing that. But if you were to get me to do that every single day, day in, day out, and have that as my primary thing that I was doing, And I don't know, maybe it was 4 speaking engagements a month, traveling internationally every other week. I mean, that sounds really nice in theory because I love to travel, but I think that would feel really intense on my nervous system because I like to be home with my dog. I like to get up early. I need good sleep, and traveling extensively would probably disrupt that. So not ideal for my nervous system. For other people, great. That they may thrive on that. In fact, they do. Awesome. Good for them. My edges say, I don't think that's great. But I can still increase my threshold for wealth by leaning into my strengths and what my nervous system says is good for me as a person. And ultimately, what this comes down to is your nervous system is yours, it's individual. Yet we try and, I don't know, what's that saying? Like square peg, round hole, or something like that. I don't know, saying, can't remember how, hopefully you get the gist of that. We try and build our businesses kind of like that. We're the round hole. No, we're the peg. I don't know. We're one of them. We're trying to squash it in. It doesn't fit. It's mismatched. And then we wonder why we're tired all the time. We wonder why we're resenting our clients. Wonder why the income that we're making doesn't reflect how much fucking work we're putting in, because we're trying to build our business that's not actually designed for our nervous system. So when we learn that we can expand our tolerance, we can expand our capacity for money, we can expand our nervous system's capacity just generally, but we also need to understand the lines or the edges that our nervous system has. And that helps us to build a business that allows us to make money in a way that is super aligned to us personally. Not what whoever's doing on Instagram, not what your friend's doing down the street, but what actually aligns for you. And that was a reminder that I needed to remind myself. And the reason that I share this with you is because I want you to understand that I'm literally an expert in this space, and it still catches me. It still catches me off guard. And that's not a negative thing. That's not a bad thing. It's just a very human thing. Because our subconscious is wild. It hooks you in and makes you think that you are completely logical, that you are completely on the right track with your train of thought. And it's not until you can kind of get some space or have someone reflect it back to you where you're like, oh, yeah, alrighty, I see that. So what I want you to have a bit of a think about is, how have you built your business based on your own nervous system? I would hazard a guess that you probably haven't even thought about it. Understandable, because it's not, you don't kind of start a business and go, all right, well, how's my nervous system showing up in this? We don't talk about our nervous system enough, I think, but it really has a huge impact on us. And yeah, I just see it so often. Like, one of my beautiful clients just leaning into her nervous system and realizing, oh my God, I don't want to see the type of clients that I have been seeing. They drain me. But actually, now that I'm listening and tuning into my nervous system, I'm realizing there's this area over here that I'm really good at and I really love working with. And she was able to get clarity because she started being able to filter out the noise. She was able to tune in to what her body, what her nervous system was saying. And she was able to listen and make meaning of what was going on, rather than it all just kind of being jumbled static on the radio. And now She's building a business that's in alignment. She hasn't burnt everything down. Don't get me wrong, like, absolutely not. But she's being more discerning and creating a business that aligns with her. And that is the power of nervous system work, because the more that you build something that's in alignment, the more excited you are, the more energized you are, the more fulfilled you are. Like it stacks on. And I just can't stress enough the power of actually listening to your nervous system to build a life your way. Because I think we've spent way too long trying to do things like everyone else. And I don't know about you, but I am tired of hustle culture. I feel like I have been a part of that for way too long. Does not work for me. Hate it. So much burnout and exhaustion. Like, no, thank you. I unsubscribe from that. But then they forget to take me off the email list, and sometimes they'll put me back on the hustle train. I have to remind myself to unsubscribe because it's a work in progress. Whenever you're used to doing something, you're going to keep doing it, even if you say, oh, no, I don't want to. Which is where I found myself in this situation of, why am I having such difficulty recording a simple podcast? But it makes sense when you look at the meaning that has been attached to how I had inadvertently been perceiving my business. And now I'm I can go, oh, yeah, I take that weight off. I take that backpack off. I don't want it. Put it down. And I'm going to make sure that I continue living in alignment. And I think this is one of those things that when you do the work and you clear that space, you can actually, I guess, notice and keep continuing. Like, it's not a blanket, oh my God, life is just full of roses and it's easy, but it becomes clearer. You can consciously choose the path that you want to walk down. It becomes easier to choose your path. And that I wouldn't trade for anything, because the alternative is I would have kept going down the other path and been building my business on hustle, which is not how I wanted to do it. So if this resonates for you, chances are you find yourself stuck at that crossroads of thinking that there's only one way to build your business in order to make the money that you want, which is work hard. And I mean, to be fair, starting a business does take a lot of work and energy. There's no doubt about it. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. However, there also comes a point where you get to choose and listen and lean into what your body, what your nervous system says. Hey, these are your strengths. These are your edges. And that's okay. You're allowed to be human. You're allowed to build your business your way. And I think sometimes that can be confronting, because it means that we're going to be the odd one out in some way. Because when you build a business your way, usually what that means is you're going against the grain of what other people are doing. Me, for example, I'm a trained psychologist. I'm doing money coaching. I cannot tell you how many other psychologists have already criticized the work that I am doing in this space. I've also had plenty who love the work that I'm doing in this space, because psychologists are terrible at charging for their services. So hello to all of my psychologist friends listening. I see you and I so value you, because I get what it's like to want to do something different. And people are going to judge you. People are going to think that you're crazy. People are going to think that you're like, who are you to be doing that? People are going to have those thoughts. But when you know your why, when you know why you are doing things your way, when you know your strengths, because you know the edges of your own nervous system, when you know that your nervous system is your container, because you know yourself so intimately and you know yourself so well. You know what your triggers are. You know what frustrates you. You know that you don't need to stop your emotions from happening. You just use them as information. All of those tools that your nervous system gives you are so powerful. And from that is where you build your business. I mean, doesn't that make sense? You build your business from your strengths, not from trying to force yourself to contort into this square peg shape that you can't fit into. Like, that just sounds crazy to me. So this is your reminder that you get to build your business your way. And that is part of the reason why I'm hosting the 3-day money reset, because we've got these parts of ourselves that desperately just want to do things in the way that society and other people have kind of convinced us that we should do them. But the reality is you get to do it your way. And you can make money your way. You absolutely can. And I've seen it time and time again. The more that we lean into our own selves, the more that money flows, because people love authenticity. People love other people who own who they are. That is the most magnetic thing that I think somebody can have. I did not expect myself to say that, because I'm thinking, that's really interesting, because I don't see myself as magnetic. But what I have noticed is that the more myself I am, the easier my business is, the more aligned clients show up in my world, just everything is a million times easier. So, not that you need permission, but this is your permission to just be you, and build a business that is you. Because there is twofold with that. It gets to be enjoyable and it gets to make you money. And if you want support to do that, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, whatever it is that you're doing, I don't even know who I am, I don't know what my business would look like, that is your sign to book a call in with me, and explore coaching, because that is often what a lot of my clients say. Like, I know that there's something different out there, but I don't know what it is. Great. The I don't know is my specialty. I love the I don't knows. The I don't knows are my favorite thing. I don't give you the answer, by the way. I don't tell you what the answer is because I don't know either. But what I am really good at is asking some really good questions that'll get you from I don't know to, oh my God, I have just so much clarity now, and it just makes so much sense. So if you are sitting in that space, let's have a chat, because that is exactly what I help women with. On that note, I'm going to go, because I am freezing. I'm recording this in winter in Melbourne, and I am freezing, and I'm not wearing a jumper, which is my bad. And my nervous system is telling me, Ellie, why did you not put a jumper on to record this? And I don't know, I'm questioning my own choices right now. But I'm glad that I jumped on and recorded this podcast despite the procrastination. I actually didn't know how this podcast was going to go. I just kind of had this rough idea of kind of spitballing about this topic, because I'm like, you know what, I just need to let go and ditch the perfectionism, and here we are. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. As always, send me a DM on Insta. I love hearing from you, whether it's just something that sparked a thought or anything in you. I really love hearing it. So hit me up on Insta, join the Somatic Money Reset, or come have a chat about coaching. They're your 3 options for today. I'm holding my fingers up if you're watching on YouTube, and I will see you all for another episode of the Rich Woman Rising podcast next week. Until then, go make some money.